Welcome back to the PFF NFL show, everybody. Trevor, Sikkema, Dalton, Wasserman here with you guys for day 5, the final day of our daily recap and reaction shows that we have had during free agency week here. It's been an exciting week. We've had a lot of big-time signings, a couple that we have to go through over the last 24 hours since the last time we ended the stream. Like we said, the second that we ended the stream, we'd get Kyler Murray signing, and of course, it wasn't the second that the stream ended, but we knew that we would talk about an official signing here on this show. We'll also play a little game show that Dalton came up with. Dalton cooked this up because we were talking about this in the pre-show meeting. He's like, I got a game show for you that we're going to play. I have no idea what this game show is about to be. So this one, that segment is going to be all Dalton. I have no idea, but I think it'll be a fun one given the way that he talked about it before the show. And then we'll talk about some of our favorite free agent signings that we have had for every team over the last couple of days. Dalton, how you doing, my friend?
We're good. Yeah, I was definitely up way too late sort of working on that. It's just an idea that came to my head. And you ever have one of those days, Trevor, where you actually just fall asleep too early, like you're going to take a nap, and then all of a sudden you wake up, it's like 1 a.m., and then it's just your whole sleep schedule's all backwards. That was pretty much me yesterday. So as we were messing around late last night with just ideas to do, because it feels like it's been kind of a quiet end to a loud week, right? So I think, we're going to talk about a couple of signings here, but I figured, come up with something fun on a Friday. Why not?
I love it. And I also think that it's no surprise at all that if you go to sleep, you pass out a little bit early and you wake up at, 2 a.m., 1 a.m., something like that. You're just like, well, time to watch some tape. Time to pull up PFF Ultimate. Time to get into it. That's immediately where your brain goes, and I love it. So let's hit the top news that we have had over the last, about 12 hours now, and that is that Kyler Murray is officially going to the Minnesota Vikings. We talked a little bit about what it could be like because it felt like this was always the favorite landing spot for him, but you and I are fans of this move. It's a 1-year, $1.3 million deal. We knew that it was going to be something close to or right at the vet minimum because of how much he is getting paid from Arizona with them releasing him. So no need to sign some massive contract. You basically go to whatever team that you want there for Kyler Murray. And so he chooses the Vikings. I agree with sort of the way that you and I talked about it yesterday when you were specifically pointing out, hey, everybody wants to work with Kevin O'Connell. Everybody wants to be a part of the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, you want to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. But the way the Vikings do play offense within this Shanahan type of structure, which is the structure of offense that Kevin O'Connell comes from, Kyler just hasn't been asked to do it a lot. Like a lot of what Kyler was asked to do, even when he was in college, early parts of the NFL, when Cliff Kingsbury was his head coach in Arizona, it's a lot of spread offense stuff. It's a lot of air raid stuff. You're spreading out the field horizontally as much as you are vertically. You're just getting a ton of different wide receivers on the field. You're basically in shotgun every single snap that you play. And so this offense is going to be a little bit different. You're going to be under center a little bit more, a lot more boot play action stuff, a lot more play action just in general. But I think that will be good for Murray. And so even though it's a little bit of an unknown because he doesn't have a ton of experience running this type of offense, I do like the fit. I think that it is one that could get the Vikings back in that playoff conversation like they were a couple years ago.
Yeah, to me, it's kind of low risk, high reward here for Minnesota. You mentioned the veterans minimum $1.3 million, and you're talking about a player in Kyler Murray who still has a lot of talent, right? He's got 3 seasons in his career where he's earned at least an 80 PFF grade. Just 2 years ago in 2024, he was the 11th highest graded quarterback in football. When he's healthy, maybe he runs a little hot and cold, but we know what he can do, and we know the explosive plays that he can create both with his arm and with his legs. I mean, he's certainly, I would say, the best quarterback or I should say the most talented quarterback that Kevin O'Connell has worked with over the past probably 3 seasons, right? So when you look at the potential of Murray and the potential to get his career back on track, it makes a lot of sense. Now, I do think through training camp and even, mini camp in April and May, things like that, it's going to be presented as a competition, and it should, right? Murray's a new face in town, and they're not paying him much. It's not like they paid him, some amount of money where they have to start him for any reason, but I do think they're bringing him in with the idea that Murray is the favorite and it's legitimate competition for J.J. McCarthy. And unless McCarthy gets significantly better over the next few months or shows something in the preseason that we haven't seen before, I would expect Kyler Murray to be their week 1 starter. And if he plays well, if he can stay healthy for 17 games, Minnesota's going to be in playoff contention.
Yeah, I think the J.J. McCarthy part of this is sort of the under talked about part, because I think everybody is just, to quote Geno Smith, writing him off at this point. And I'm not saying that I would take him in a quarterback competition over Kyler Murray. Very clearly, JJ just was not ready to be the starter last year. But I do think that it puts the Vikings in a very favorable scenario, I should say. But you have Kyler in a situation where he's not making a lot of money. It's a 1-year deal. It's a short-term thing. You see how the quarterback competition obviously plays out during the summer. Best case scenario, both these guys are slinging it around during training camp. You feel pretty good about it, and you go, all right, well, Kyler's probably the best, gives us the higher ceiling, so you start him this upcoming season. But it gives you the ability to feel pretty good about J.J. McCarthy if things don't go exactly the way that you want them to with Murray. So I don't think that this signing totally means that JJ has played his last down as a Minnesota Viking, but this was always what needed to happen given how poorly McCarthy played last year. So I think the Vikings are doing a really good job putting themselves in an ideal scenario for this upcoming season. The bouncer also strikes again. I don't know if we have the meme. I don't know if we have that at the ready here, but Robert Saleh, Brian Daboll, they're back. Tony Adams signing a 1-year deal. There it is, folks. If you've ever played for him before, the door is open on the team. We talked about this yesterday. He is raising the floor of what I think the Tennessee Titans are going to be this season by getting a lot of players that he's very familiar with to be able to hit the ground running, which I do think is very important for a first year head coach when it comes to a new spot where they are coaching. Tony Adams, the safety, signing a 1-year deal with them. Thoughts on Tony Adams, and then also thoughts on the Tennessee Titans' new uniforms. I would love to hear your thoughts there as well.
I don't mind them. They're not too flashy. I mean, it's kind of like the Tony Adams signing, right? Like they get the job done, but they're not too flashy. So I think those two things do kind of go hand in hand. Look, Adams is graded at least a 63 or higher in each of his 4 NFL seasons here. He's familiar with the system, and he's somebody that Robert Saleh can trust to start in a pinch, right? I don't think he's necessarily the guy that you desperately want to start 17 games for you. He's a decent backup and a guy who can fill in, and a guy, again, Saleh is familiar with, because at this point he's familiar with just about his whole team. But I think they'll continue looking for additions, young talent in the secondary. It's going to be something to look for in the draft. But if they start the season with Tony Adams and Kevin Winston Jr. starting at safety, that wouldn't be all that surprising considering the familiarity there.
Yeah, I like the jerseys. I do. Like I really quickly, I like the Tony Adams signing because I said, it's as much as the meme is getting a lot of use and it's funny, I really do appreciate it. I do think that it's smart because I think that, again, this team, the floor of this team is so much higher when you have players that you're very familiar with. But I felt like there was some unnecessary hate for the Titans uniform. I thought they were great. I like the color scheme. I like how clean it is. I don't know. Some people were like, oh, this is boring. And then when teams try to do things that aren't boring, you hate it. I don't know, man. I felt like it was totally fine. I like the way that the Titans are looking. And I honestly, it's when you have new jerseys, new color scheme, all that kinds of stuff, you kind of get to wash whatever was the old regime completely off of you. And so I think that was also very important for the Tennessee Titans as well, just because it has not gone well for them. As
long as we don't go back to the Jameis era alarm clock number Buccaneer uniforms, I think we're good. I think we'll be all right. That was a tough, what was it, 5 years that we did that? That was a tough 5 years in Tampa.
It was. You know what's kind of sick is they actually started to grow on me. I wouldn't say that I liked them. I just didn't think they were the worst jerseys of all time by the time we got to the end of it. But boy, the way this free agency period has gone for the Buccaneers, we might be heading back to those tough times for that team. We will have to see some of the moves and the draft picks now specifically that they'll be able to make at the end of April. The Cincinnati Bengals, quiet-ish free agency period, but I actually like 3 of the major players that they brought in. And Jonathan Allen, okay, really nice, a veteran run defender, but a run defender nonetheless, something that you needed to get much better in that area on the interior defensive line. Boye Mafe, I think, is somebody who can really help you in the pass rush department on the defensive line as well. And then Brian Cook at safety, being more reliable at safety, being more sure tackling, somebody who has some experience, playing at a very, very high level. So I like these 3 signings. Of course, would it have looked a lot better if there was a Devin Lloyd to have added to this list as well for the Bengals? Sure, but only one team was going to get Devin Lloyd. And so, with the idea that they didn't hit linebacker, they need to probably do so in the draft. And to be honest, I feel like there's some veteran linebackers out there for them to be able to get where they could still have the young guys that they played last season and some veteran linebackers to be able to lean on. I know the Bengals fans probably look at that area as a major missed opportunity, but I do like the three players that they brought in. I think all three of these guys help them in areas of weakness.
No, for sure. I think you could live with Brian Cook and Jordan Battle as your starting safety tandem. If they want to upgrade at that spot in the draft, I get it. It's a deep safety class. Linebacker and defensive line. I think this front seven is really going to look a lot different. The middle of this defense is going to look a lot different come the end of the draft, right? I think especially adding around Allen and B.J. Hill, guys like that at defensive tackle, adding around those guys to find some real impact players. And then, and you know me, I would keep improving at linebacker. And some of, you mentioned some of the veterans that are still out there. I keep saying it. I think I've said it every day this week. Bobby Wagner's got to play somewhere, right? And I think that would be a great addition considering the young players that the Bengals currently have, the young players that they could still bring in. Who knows if a Sonny Styles or somebody like that is there at number 10 overall for them to pick. But they definitely need to still add, especially at defensive tackle and at linebacker. They've got to shore up the middle of this defense even more.
Yeah. So some really quick, I guess these best available before we get into the game show that you wanted to get to. DJ Reader's still out there. Juwan Jennings is still out there. Rasheed Walker, Taylor Decker, but we mentioned at the end of last show that we feel as though everybody feels like they're kind of waiting for Trent Williams. Like if the 49ers actually release Trent Williams, which feels like it would be crazy to do, if they actually do that, every single team that has any sort of an offensive tackle need is going to be in on that immediately. So we're kind of waiting for that domino to fall, or at least waiting a couple more days, because some teams are just going to go, okay, like I guess they're not really making a move. They're going to figure it out, so they'll move on. But I do think that Taylor Decker and Rasheed Walker should be at the top of that list when it comes to guys who are available. I think some veteran offensive guards as well. Kevin Zeitler, Joel Bitonio. Seems like Joel Bitonio is not going back to the Cleveland Browns, so he'll be available to sign. But Calais Campbell, just the ageless one, keeps producing the older he gets, which is crazy. But and then the Aaron Rodgers domino. But for Aaron Rodgers, it's basically just, is he going to be the Steelers quarterback or not? And I think that kind of tops the list of the guys who are best available.
Yeah, I think as far as Rodgers goes, it sounds like if Rodgers were to retire, that the Steelers would immediately pivot to Kirk Cousins, and I think that's the reason Cousins hasn't signed anywhere yet. I would expect that Rodgers comes back, and then Cousins might end up in Las Vegas. I've mentioned that before with the Clint Kubiak connection, and they might want at least a very short-term bridge to Fernando Mendoza at that point, but I think he's waiting out that Rodgers decision because he would have a pretty clear path to starting in Pittsburgh week one, and maybe they would bring in a Ty Simpson. Maybe they believe that much in Will Howard that he could be the future of the franchise. But I think that's really Cousins is waiting on Rodgers. And then, like you mentioned, a lot of good veteran players still out there that I would expect probably to get one-year deals, no more than 2 for sure, but a lot of useful players still on the market.
I'd much rather have Derek Carr than Kirk Cousins. So, if it's serious that Derek Carr wants to come out of retirement and play again, if I'm the Steelers, I would much rather have Derek Carr than Kirk Cousins. But the tricky part is that you'd have to trade for him, right? Because the Saints would still own his rights, and if the Saints are going to be sticklers for it, and they're like, no, yeah, we want day 2 picks for him, and that obviously complicates things. But for the Steelers, I feel as though Plan A, if not Rodgers, should be to really check in on the Derek Carr situation. What do you think about that?
I think it makes sense. I mean, it's the only thing is you're talking about a guy who's on a year off now, and presumably a year off to get healthy, and he stayed in shape. And I think it does give you some more vertical ability than Cousins would at this point. Cousins, at this point, between the Achilles and the age, really is kind of locked in this box for the most part. You're not going to get a lot of verticality out of your offense. And when you have DK Metcalf out there as your top weapon, you need somebody who's able to throw the ball downfield. So I definitely get the logic as far as the fit there, and I don't think the Saints, especially trading him over to the AFC, I don't think it would take too much. Maybe you're doing a pick swap or some sort of 6th or 7th round pick, but I don't think it would take any sort of high end capital.
Somebody in the chat's asking about Tyreek Hill. I mean, I have no idea what Tyreek Hill's situation is coming off of that major knee injury, and I haven't really heard a peep about Tyreek Hill at all. So I don't have any thoughts about because teams are going to have to fully check out and clear his knee after a major knee injury. So I have no idea where Tyreek Hill would sign at this point. I think that my guess or anybody's guess would be as good as putting all 32, 31 because he got released by the Dolphins, so that's not going to happen. But just throwing a dart at the dartboard, I think that's a complete random, and nobody knows coming off of that injury. You want to get to the game show now?
Yeah.
You want to get to your game show?
I think so. We can jump right into this. We can jump right into this, Trevor. So the game show that I created at 1:00 this morning, and just wanted to have some fun with this. So here's the rules here. So I'm going to show you. We have 5 sets of 2 players. Okay, all of these players that you're going to see, or you're going to guess, I should say, they've all signed a contract this week. Okay, so I'm going to throw up some stats for both players side by side. They're going to look very, very similar. I have some hints in my head right now if you need them along the way, and you're going to try to guess, blind resume, player A and player B, who these 2 players are one at a time. Does that sound easy enough there? It's just going to be a straight guessing game based on some numbers that I've obviously manipulated a little bit to find some similar ones between 2 guys.
I love this too because the chat can get involved. We can see what the chat says.
Absolutely.
I won't look at the chat before I give you my answer, but I know the chat can be involved here as well. So yeah, let's do it. This as my AirPod fell out, which is bad timing for that. But okay, let's dig into this. What
All
do we
right,
got?
so we're going to get into the first set. This is now the stats will make it obvious, but each set it's going to be different positions. So we have 2 different quarterbacks here who have both signed contracts this week. Player A, 68.7 passing grade. These are all 2025 stats, by the way. I didn't do any multi-year anything, so this is all just 2025. Player A, 68.7 passing grade, 13 big-time throws, 18 turnover-worthy plays. Player B, 72.3 passing grade, 17 big-time throws, 12 turnover-worthy plays. Based just on the numbers you see on the screen there, do you want to take a guess at either or both of these players? And again, they have both signed contracts during this week of free agency. New contracts.
I have some names off the top of my head that I think that these could be. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds for the chat to get their answers in. Again, I'm not looking at the chat. I think these are 2025 stats.
These are 2025 stats only, yes. These are fun. I didn't think I would find this many. We've got 5 rounds of this. I really didn't think I'd find this many, but this was a lot of fun putting them side by side.
I'm wondering if... Hold on, I gotta look something up really quick.
Oh, now he's looking it up. He's already cheating. You see this? See, he's already cheating his way through it.
I wanted to see how many games Kyler played last year. Because I'm wondering if these 2 players are the 2 players who signed for the vet minimums that got released. I'm wondering if player B is Kyler and player A is Tua. But I also potentially thought about player B being Daniel Jones.
This is fun. This is because it's quarterbacks and there aren't that many. This is supposed to be the easy one. This will get really fun as we keep going here.
I will go with player B is Kyler and player A is Tua.
Those are both incorrect. Kyler didn't play enough games, and Tua's numbers were actually worse than either of these players. I think it was like 25 turnover-worthy plays for Tua.
Wow. So is B Daniel Jones?
Daniel Jones is player A.
Oh, he's player A.
Daniel Jones is player A right there.
Wow.
And here's the fun part. Daniel Jones, with that new contract he signed, he will be earning this season more than 5 times what player B will be making this season. And it's not a vet minimum player. Daniel Jones is making 5 times more money this year than player B.
Who played enough? Who is it? I don't know. Who's player B? Who played enough?
Player B signed a 1-year, $8 million contract, also to stay with his team, Washington Commanders backup Marcus Mariota.
Oh, man. I didn't even think of Mariota.
Mariota played 10 games, re-signed for $8 million with the Commanders.
Damn, those are some good numbers for Mariota.
Pretty odd, right? Pretty odd to stack them up side by side and see that. And that's going to – the contract part of this, too. I wanted the big splits in contracts. That's going to be a theme throughout this one. So you have Daniel Jones there, player A, Marcus Mariota, player B. Now, I'm a little worried about the next 4 because that was quarterbacks. There wasn't the biggest pool of players there. We're moving on to round 2. We good to go to round 2, Trev?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat. I've got the chat on my phone because it's just easier for me to see. Some people were guessing Darnold. Somebody did guess Mariota. Brandon did guess Mariota there.
Well done.
Good guess, Brandon. Yeah, well done. Yeah, a couple people were thinking that it was Tua and Murray as well. A lot of people thought that it was. A couple people said Malik Willis, but I didn't think that either of those numbers were reflecting how Malik Willis played this past season. Okay, all right. What's the next one? What do we got?
All right. Round 2. Here we go. Round 2. We're moving to running backs. Okay, 2 running backs.
Okay.
2 running backs that have signed this week. All right, and I'll actually save the hint because the hint will probably tip the chat off. But player A, 74.5 rushing grade, 4.3 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns, 0.17 missed tackles forced per attempt. Player B, 78.4 rushing grade, little higher, 4.5 yards per carry, little higher, 6 touchdowns, 0.21 missed tackles forced per attempt, little bit higher on a rate basis there. Any thoughts on either of them? I will tell you. No, I'm not going to tell you anything yet. I thought about telling you. I'm going to wait on the hints because the chat is going to really. The 2 hints in my head, the chat's really going to dig into them because I know they're smart. This is tough. When I narrow it down to the rate stats like this, it gets a little harder.
Well, there's just not a lot of running backs like these could kind of be anybody, right? It's just a matter of do I remember who might have had a much lower missed tackles forced per attempt average or low rushing totals.
All right, so before I narrow in on it, I will tell you there's a fun connection between the 2 of them.
Is Rico Dowdle one of them?
Nope.
I thought Rico might have been B because he had those 4 weeks where he went nuclear and his rushing grade would have been close to the 80s.
What was it?
And then they just
200-something yard game against Dallas
4
or
weeks
whatever. Miami, whichever game that was. Yeah.
In the NFL, a connection between these backs.
I could give you I could give you the hint whenever you need it. I know the chat's gonna get it. They're gonna start thinking about it real hard the second it'll click. If you want it, unless you want to throw some more names out there.
It's not Kenneth Walker.
It is not Kenneth Walker.
Yeah. It's not Brees.
It is not Brees.
One of these could be Etienne. And then the connection is funny because, I wonder if the connection is Rachaad White and Kenneth Gainwell because one's leaving Tampa, one's going to Tampa.
Oh, you're on the right track. It is not those 2, but you're on the right track. That's a really good thought process.
That was where I was trying to go with it.
I will tell you, you have the process is there. The process is right there.
Okay.
That was a good guess, actually. I didn't hate that. That exact line of thinking is where you need to be right now. Oh, this is good. This is a good one.
But you said one of them is not Rico Dowdle, right?
Correct. Not Rico Dowdle.
Because I would have said Rico and Javonte. Because
it's more along the lines of your Rachaad and Gainwell one. It's neither of those players, but more along that line. So if you want me, I will throw this in there. Player A will be playing for a new team.
Okay.
Player B is going to player A's old team. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. You're going through the list right now, aren't you?
I don't know if I have the fully updated list.
Just name a running back, Trevor.
Isaiah Pacheco.
False.
Yeah, I didn't. Who is it? Okay, all right. Who are the two? I don't have the updated list.
Here we go.
Who are the two then?
Sticking to the big contract, small contract theme. Player A is a guy you mentioned before, Travis Etienne. Player B is Chris Rodriguez, now going to Jacksonville.
Oh, I didn't. Oh yeah, I don't have Chris Rodriguez in my sheet.
Oh
right
yeah,
here
he signed
of
with
guys
him.
who
He signed with him yesterday, I believe it was. And when that popped up, and I saw the two so close to each other in some of these, I had to do it. So for any Jacksonville fans that may or may not be panicking about ETN leaving, you got Rodriguez at a pretty good bargain to go with Bashal Tootin there. You're going to be all right down there in Duval. We'll be all right at running back.
I don't mind that.
It's going to be okay. And Chris Rodriguez back with Liam Cohen, who he had his best season with at Kentucky. How about it?
Okay, this is going to be difficult if I don't have the updated list, but who's what's the next one?
The next one, round 3. All right, we're going to the offensive line now, specifically guards. Okay, these are two guards right here. Pretty similar stuff. Brother. 70.3 PFF grade, and again, both of them have signed contracts this week. 70.3 PFF grade on the left, 4 sacks, 5% pressure rate allowed, 66.3 run blocking grade. On the right, 69.4 PFF grade, 2 sacks allowed, 3.6% pressure, 69 run block.
Okay,
almost,
hold on.
Almost identical all the way around.
Is there any sort of connection between these two? Because you just named the stats of basically every guard in the NFL.
One of them. This is one where I have to do the money thing. One of these two players signed a $50 million plus contract. The other one signed for a whole lot less than that. The other one signed for less than $5 million. Put them side by side.
Oh, wait a second.
There we go.
Didn't Zion Johnson sign a crazy contract?
Yes.
Is he one of them?
He is not one of them. And I think his came in just under $50 million. I remember 48 or 49 being a number. One of them is over a $50 million contract he signed, and the other is less than $5 million.
At guard.
At guard.
Is one of these David Edwards?
One of them is David Edwards.
Yeah, because he signed the biggest contract of any of the guards.
Good call. 4 years worth up to it's worth 61. It's actually over 60 million. So if you want to take a crack at which one is David Edwards, feel free, because one of them is David Edwards.
I'm wondering if you're doing this on purpose to have him with the lower PFF grade, to compare him to a guy who is player A, Dalton Risner.
You have the two players, but you have them switched.
I flipped? Okay.
A is Edwards, okay. B is Risner. Well done.
Okay.
Look, Risner's only 2 years older than Edwards, but I guess that 2 years is the difference between getting $61 million and only getting $3 million. But two solid guards. And look, the Bengals putting together the offensive line a little better down the stretch. The Saints trying to get it together with David Edwards there. Fun one. I'm looking
back on the chat, and there were some people who got Chris Rodriguez at running back, but I don't think anybody got both of them.
You were on the right. That your White and Gainwell theory was a good one. That was the right theory.
I didn't have Chris Rodriguez's name right in front of me, so I totally forgot that he had signed in Jacksonville.
All right. We want to go.
How many more do we have?
We got two more. We got to go. We're going to the defensive side. 2 more. All right. And this one. All right. This is edge rushers now. All right. 2 edge rushers that have signed new contracts this week. Player A, 60 pass rush grade, 48 pressures, 8 sacks, 11% win rate. Player B, 63.9, 45 pressures, also 8 sacks, 12.2% win rate down there. Almost identical stats. 2 edge rushers that were signed this week.
8 sacks.
Remember the theme here with some of these contracts we've been throwing out.
Is what? One's a monster deal and then one's...
There's at least a big difference between them, yeah.
Is one of them Jalen Phillips?
Not that monster.
Okay.
Not that's big monster. No, Jalen Phillips was better. He was better than both of these guys.
That's okay. All right. I hope with Jalen Phillips, what's the most sacks he's ever had in a single season?
Has he hit 10? I know he was always one of those ones who was like high pressure and
hit 10.
High pressure and win rate, but low sack. Let's see. I'm going to look at that while you keep thinking.
Okay.
Jalen Phillips, career high in sacks. Actually, his first 2 years, he had 10 each year. He hit 10 for us.
Oh, okay.
Least. Two players here. I could give even if it's not at the Jalen Phillips range. I'll give you the contract hint. Player A
is one Kwity Paye?
No.
Okay.
Player A signed a contract almost 4 times as the total value, almost 4 times as big as player B.
See, that's why I thought you might have been picking Kwity Paye because he hasn't been the best pass rusher, and he got 3 years, 48.
It's a fun one. You're getting in that range. You're getting in that range there, though.
Right.
With that contract that he signed, you're in that range. It's not the top guys like Owe or Phillips. Oh, the smoke is coming out of the AirPods right now. Just blazing right out.
The only other one I can think of that kind of fits with the contract hints that you've been giving is Mafe.
Ooh, not quite. There's another one in there. There's another one.
Okay, who signed in free agency? Hendrickson, Owe, but you said it's not Owe. Jalen Phillips.
It's a good contract.
Paye.
It's a good contract. It's not a monster one. It's not one of the monster ones. You're getting warmer with Paye and Mafe. I think Mafe got a little bit more than this guy. Because Mafe got, what, 60, I think it was? Yeah. Go a little lower than Mafe.
Is one of them Bradley Chubb?
Player A is Bradley Chubb.
Okay. All right.
Player B is going to be really hard because Player B signed a contract for about a quarter of what Bradley Chubb did, despite these numbers.
About a quarter.
Yeah. This might actually be the hardest one in the whole exercise, to be honest with you.
Man. The guys who would have been in that range are like Malcolm Kuntz, Caleb on Chason.
Oh, you're in the right tier. You're right in the right tier.
I know. It's not Mac.
No, not Mac.
It's not Khalil Mack.
No, Mac is better than that.
Who's the other one who signed? Arnold Ebiketie? But he signed a small deal.
Yeah, not Ebiketie. Well, I'd be fascinated to see what the chat has for player B here. I think this is probably the hardest one in the whole thing.
Who does that? All right, hold on. I'm actually gonna look at the chat, see what their answers are.
Let's see. Yeah, let's see it. Let's see it. We've stewed on this one for a bit.
Yeah. No, somebody said Draymond Jones. Jones' contract was big.
Yeah, it was bigger than this one. I think Jones got
a lot of people are saying Bradley Chubb, so a lot of people got Bradley Chubb.
Chubb is player A. Yes, that is correct. This is a hard one. I was actually
What did Jacob Martin sign for?
2 years and 11.
So is that him?
Jacob Martin is player B.
Yeah, we got it, baby.
We had to get a card carrying member of the Salah Dable Continuity Club. We had to get one in there. But identical numbers: Chubb 3 and 43.5. Jacob Martin.
Nobody said that in the chat.
Not a single Jacob Martin in the chat. Stump the chat. That's what we're really going for here.
Oh, actually, hold on. I'm scrolling up. Matthew did say Jacob Martin earlier.
Okay. All right. We got one Jacob Martin shout. I figured that would be the hard one.
I should have focused on the sacks there because Martin did have a decent amount of sacks.
He played more than I thought he did I think he played over 700 snaps this year for Washington.
He was basically Washington's best edge rusher.
All right, last one. We got one more. This is cornerbacks. 2 corners that signed new contracts this week. Player A, 68 coverage grade, 8 pass breakups, 1 interception. Player B, 64.8 coverage grade, 7 pass breakups, 5 interceptions. And they are actually, if you put the qualifier in there, for this past year for overall grade, they are right next to each other in the rankings. And well, I'll wait
Is
on the
player-
I'll wait on the contract thing. I'll wait on it. Corners.
Is player B Nahshon Wright?
Player B is Nahshon Wright. Well done.
Baby.
The 5 interceptions.
Yeah, baby.
The 5 interceptions probably gave it away.
Baby.
Wow, well done. Nahshon Wright.
Yeah.
First guess. Player B is Nahshon Wright. The 5 picks probably gave that one away.
It did, because I knew he was on a streak of getting a ton of interceptions.
Yep.
But I knew he was very like boom or bust as a player, so the coverage grade was probably going to be lower for him. So
well done.
Nahshon Wright, B, player A. See, this one's tougher because 8 pass breakups obviously good. 1 interception's kind of and lower coverage grades. I mean, this could be anybody essentially. I don't know his stats off the top of my head, but is player A Reek Woolen?
Player A is not Reek Woolen. Player A. So Nahshon Wright signed for $5.5 million, I believe it was, with the Jets.
Yeah, right.
Player A signed for
probably a lot more.
something like 8 times that. Yeah, about 8 times that he signed.
Okay.
Yep.
Um,
So no, it's not Trent McDuffie.
is player A Jamel Dean?
Player A is not Jamel Dean, but I think he got, if I remember this right, pretty close to the same contract. You're in the right. You're warmer with the money there. I think if I remember, Dean's contract was somewhere in that 15
I
to
should have
17.
known it's not. I should have known that wasn't Dean because we grade Dean highly for just being like close to wide receivers and like covering wide receivers rather than ball production. Although he does have a couple of years where his pass breakups have been high.
You are in the right mid-level corner contract though. You're right in that range.
It is very funny when you do this exercise. When you go like, oh, this player got a monster deal, and this player
got 1 year.
deal.
This player got 1 year and $5 million. Yeah. Oh, I, that was the other thing I wanted to do intentionally here was go, here's a large monster contract. Here's another guy. We had fun.
The only other guy I can think of is Jalen Watson, who signed for that much.
Also in the same range, but just off. If you want the hint, Nahshon Wright is going to New York. Player A is leaving New York. Which should then make it maybe slightly more obvious, because where's everybody going that they're leaving New York for?
They're going to play for the bouncer.
They're going to play for the bouncer.
Wait, who'd they sign? What corner did they sign? Is it Cordell Flott?
It is Cordell Flott.
Yeah!
Cordell
there
Flott.
we go.
There we go. Honestly, the Nahshon Wright first guess, that's good stuff. You worked your way there to most of the Nahshon Wright, and honestly, eventually the Jacob Martin one. Those are probably the most impressive. But yeah, Nahshon Wright, Cordell Flott, right next to each other in the PFF grade rankings this year. Wright gets 1 year and $5 million. Flott gets, I believe it was 3 years and 45. What did the chat have for some of the? Well, you got ahead of him on Nahshon. So
a lot of people thought that player A was Reek Woolen.
Close. He's in that grade range as well. It's a good guess.
Yeah. A lot of people were saying that it was Woolen. A bunch of people were saying maybe Jamel Dean as well. A couple people said Alontae Taylor.
Well, they had the right team. There you go.
The Space Beast was the first one to say Cordell Flott.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Man, Nahshon Wright first guess. Well done.
Yeah.
How about it? There you go.
Hey, there we go. That was fun.
That's my 5-round game show that I put together at 2:00 in the morning. That was fun. That was a good time with that.
That was good. I'm going to talk about draft risers now, and then we're going to talk about some of our favorite signings for every single team. Every week on draft risers, though, before we get to that, we're highlighting players that are climbing draft boards, getting deeper into the evaluation process. These guys are rising because these decision makers are getting more confident in the full profile, not just chasing certain traits, but a player that we've talked about all week that is got the traits and also basically everything else that you could want is Sonny Styles, the linebacker from Ohio State. Really, since the combine, he has been rising about as high as you possibly can. And I did my preliminary sort of final, if those two words can exist together, big board, and he was top 5 for me. He's a top 5 player in the class. I think a lot of NFL teams are going to see that very similarly just because of how incredible an athlete he is, and just everything else, the intelligence, how he plays with such great instincts. Apparently, the interviews with teams is off the charts as well. So that's the full profile. When you're identifying risers like that, it's not about guessing. It's about having better tools, better data, and a better process. That same approach applies to when you are making decisions about your own money as well. If you want to make smarter picks with your portfolio, Tasty Trade gives you the advanced tools and data to be able to do so. You can trade stocks, options, futures, and so much more all in one platform. They offer low commissions and including a $10 cap per leg on option trades, so you guys can keep more of what you earn. They've got back testing and risk analysis tools to help you plan ahead and manage your risk. They've also got active trader mode, one-click trading, smart order tracking, and dozens of educational courses that you can access free with your account. Visit tastytrade.com/PFF today. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC. All right, some favorite signings that we have for each team. You want to start alphabetically? Actually, what do we, because we'll just go to the PFF tracker and we'll see roster moves by team here. Yeah, we got an alphabetical order. We got this one in alphabetical order. So let's start with the Cardinals. Favorite signing for them? Honestly, I think the Isaac Suomelo signing is my favorite one. Is he is he in his prime? I don't know if he's in his prime, but to be honest, they had to improve the floor of the interior of their offensive line. So I feel like this allows them to have best player available approach when it comes to the offensive side of things. I really do think that. And you can still focus heavily on the offensive line going to get your right tackle of the future and feel pretty good about it. So I like the Suomelo signing for the Cardinals.
I'll give you that. A known solid starter at left guard. The two other guys I'm going to point out are actually the two signed at the bottom there. Andrew Wingard to get in there and play safety to replace Jalen Thompson, who they lost to Dallas. And then Matt Pryor actually is a guy I think is underrated, known mostly as a swing guy, but he's had starting experience both at guard and tackle in the past. So I think it's somebody who could at least help the depth of their offensive line.
As for the Atlanta Falcons, best signing here for the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, is it just a Tua one? Is he the?
Yeah.
Well, I think the wide receivers are actually pretty nice.
I would go with Tua. Yeah, I think that's a win-win for both sides. I think for Tua, kind of the same as Kyler, trying to rehab the image a little bit, and I think he goes to a good place where you're talking about a good offensive line, and obviously Bijan in the running game, Drake London, Kyle Pitts is still there. I think there is a world where if he had to, or if he wins the job, and it's been said that it's going to be an open competition, I think Tua can run Kevin Stefanski's offense with those weapons, and especially with the run game led by Bijan Robinson that they have. I think Tua is the best signing there.
I do agree with that as well. Although I like Jahan Dotson and Old Mantikias added to the wide receiver room. I still think they need another impact player, but bringing back Kyle Pitts, having Drake London, and then raising the floor of that wide receiver room, I think is certainly good for them. For the Ravens, it's kind of hard to choose, right? I mean, like Trey Hendrickson, especially when you put it next to, hey, we would have had to trade 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby and then also pay him. And now you go, well, we get to keep our 2 first-round picks and we're just signing Trey Hendrickson. I think that's an incredible signing for them. I love the John Simpson signing. They had to get a lot better on the interior. That's a starting spot that's now locked up. I love the Jalen Hawkins signing as well. You're getting Jalen Hawkins and Malachi Starks to be able to play on the back end. It gives you that freedom with Kyle Hamilton. Chidobe Awuzie, I think it's a very team-friendly deal. Like, I really love what Baltimore has done and the additions that they've made. But I guess if we're not talking about the whole situation of Max Crosby versus Trey Hendrickson, I think I like the Jalen Hawkins signing the most for them.
You know me, I can't shy away from the FAU legend himself, Trey Hendrickson.
Of course.
I mean, and when you consider that really arguably their biggest need was pass rush, and he's one of the best in the league. The Ravens they were tied for the 3rd worst pass rush grade in the league last year. They had to get a player like him. I mean, the emphasis, obviously, you had the Crosby trade, and then eventually it turned into Trey. But to fix what really was their biggest weakness last year, getting Trey Hendrickson, as long as he's healthy, is the perfect solution.
For the Buffalo Bills, you could throw in DJ Moore in here if you want, if you think that that's the best addition. I don't, because I think they overpaid to go get him. He objectively makes the team better, but I think that they overpaid to go get him. I actually like the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson deal. Like, dude, Gardner-Johnson plays with a ton of attitude on the back end. He can play in the slot for you. We were talking about, hey, who is their main slot defender now? Like, where is that coming from with Teron Johnson no longer there? So I think CJ Gardner-Johnson gives you the ability to play in the back end and then also in the slot. So I kind of think that CJ Gardner-Johnson ad is a really good one for them.
I would shout out re-signing Connor McGovern. I think especially when you look at it, it's crazy to think per year that he's getting less than half of what Tyler Linderbaum is getting in Vegas, and McGovern has really bought into Buffalo's program and their culture, and a team that really, I think, we talk about it during the season, but the offensive line really is a big part of the heart and soul of this team and the way they can run the football. I think keeping McGovern in there long term is a really good move as well.
For the Carolina Panthers, it's Devin Lloyd, right? I think that I have a hard time thinking that you're going to disagree with me here. We're probably unified in this, but this is a team that had to get so much better at just everything at the second level, whether it was run defense, recognition, coverage, certainly. I mean, the middle of the field was wide open against Carolina far too many times last season, and Devin Lloyd, one of the best linebackers in the league last season. So to me, getting him for that 3 years, $45 million, I even think that's a really solid contract for the Carolina Panthers as well. So you get the best player at the position where you have a major need. I think that's by far their best ad.
The combination of talent, need, and value on the contract that they got, I would argue that's my favorite signing in the entire NFL. No disagreement there.
Yeah. Chicago Bears, a lot to choose from here. Trading for Garrett Bradbury with Drew Dahlman retiring. They signed Kobe Bryant. They brought in Devin Bush. Neville Gallimore as well, re-signed Braxton Jones, signed Jedrick Wills. I'll let you go first on this one because I think there's a lot to think about here for Chicago, who maybe didn't make the biggest splash of any team in free agency, but I think they rounded out their team really well, and a team that obviously is playoff caliber already.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 2. I really like the Devin Bush signing a lot, considering you got out of Tremaine Edmonds' contract and you signed Bush for just $10 million a year, and he's been one of the highest-graded linebackers in football over his last 2 years in Cleveland. I think he's really going to help out their run defense between the tackles where they were so weak. And the other one, I told you, I kind of like this. I know he's hurt this past year, but they needed 1-year insurance at left tackle. I have no issue with Braxton Jones, right? He's a league-average tackle when he's healthy. I know, obviously, Bears fans give him a lot of flack, and there was a lot of rumors I heard even as recently as the Combine is there's no way they're bringing this guy back. Well, they brought him back, and if he's healthy, very good chance he could be their week 1 starter at left tackle with Ozzie Trapillo out for a good chunk of the year.
I also really like the Kobe Bryant signing. I'm going to be honest. Like, I think that's one that's they obviously had a big need at safety going into this whole exercise because they didn't have any guys on the roster, but that's a really good one to get, especially somebody who's playing some high-level football over the last couple of years, specifically winning the Super Bowl with Seattle. So I think I would go with Kobe Bryant as my favorite one there. For Cincinnati, we've obviously talked about them a little bit already at the top of the show. You could throw re-signing Dalton Reisner into that as well, since you pointed out in the game show how good of a value it feels like he could be to the Bengals. I think Brian Cook's probably my favorite because they really needed somebody who could be much more reliable for them on the back end at safety. And like you mentioned, I mean, you could live with Jordan Battle and Brian Cook being your 2 safeties. So I think that's probably my favorite of the moves that they have made.
Brian Cook, 4th highest graded safety in football this past season. And you keep in mind, too, Cincinnati Bearcat, you're talking about a homecoming there as well. So bringing a hometown kid back here. And look, if they don't end up improving on Jordan Battle in the draft with this really good safety class that we have, then I think you can live with that. Those 2 starting back there at safety for sure.
The Cleveland Browns, I think the Elgton Jenkins.
It's a lot of O-linemen to pick from there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think they overpaid for Zion Johnson. You're hoping that Tevin Jenkins stays healthy. You gave up a decent amount to go get Titus Howard, but hey, if he's your starting right tackle, you needed a starting right tackle, so I don't hate it. But the one that I like the most is what Elgton Jenkins can be just as a center or a guard for them. So I think Jenkins would be my favorite signing there for them.
Agreed. Both of those guys, plus keeping Tevin Jenkins, gives them a lot of flexibility. If they draft a new center, they could play both Johnson and Jenkins at guard. If they drafted guard in the mid-rounds, then you could talk about Jenkins or even Johnson playing center. I think that interior in general, they just have a lot of flexibility in there. And you mentioned it, Titus Howard's going to be the right tackle, but Jenkins was a really good pickup right after Green Bay dropped him.
Dallas Cowboys, I'm going to be honest, it might be who they signed, I think, this morning or last night, like Kobe Durant. Like, I don't mind that signing at all. I think that Kobe Durant's a very solid football player, especially if they want to play more zone stuff. You're getting him on a 1-year, $5.5 million deal. I like that. I really do. I like Jalen Thompson as well. They needed to get some new bodies at the corner and secondary spots, And I think that those two are my favorite, honestly, from Dallas.
Thompson is a good sign. If I remember right, the Cowboys either had the worst or the second worst PFF grade from their safeties last year. Thompson's a versatile piece that gives you at least stability back there. I think there's every chance that they could still draft a star. Like if a Caleb Downs were to drop to 12 for any reason, or a Dylan Thieneman with either of those picks, they still need more at that position. PJ Locke profiles as more of a backup, but I do like the Thompson signing. You get an immediate starter right there, and I believe they re-signed Malik Hooker also, so they're looking at least a little bit better back there at safety.
Broncos, very quiet. They re-signed J.K. Dobbins, re-signed Justin Strnad, extended Adam Troutman, re-signed Alex Singleton. They released Dre Greenlaw, but they didn't sign anybody from outside of their building. So I guess favorite move would be bringing back J.K. Dobbins because you liked him when he was fully healthy. So, hey, give him a shot to come back. Him and R.J. Harvey, I still think is a nice duo when those two guys are fully healthy. So I suppose that would be my favorite from Denver, but they didn't make any outside signings yet.
I'll take the linebacker tandem with Singleton and Strnad. It leaves them going into the draft without a desperate need at linebacker. If they want to get some depth on day 2 or 3, then that's fine. But, we were thinking about linebacker possibly being a pick for them at number 30. I don't think they're going to have to do that, and they got pretty good value on both of those guys.
For the Lions, my favorite move for them is signing center Cade Mays. I feel like he's very much just the type of player they like. I mean, he is an ass kicker. He sets the tone there as a center. When you look at Carolina over the last couple of years specifically, they've just been one of the toughest and most powerful offensive lines in the league. So I think that that's certainly the identity that Detroit has always tried to emulate as well. So I think that they certainly needed a center, a starting caliber center, and Cade Mays gives them that.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's been an underrated player the last couple of years in Carolina, and it allows you to leave Tate Ratledge at guard and not have to mess with the whole hierarchy there of the interior.
Right.
Now you can just worry about going into the draft, or maybe even the rest of free agency, what are we doing at tackle, right? Especially that left tackle spot, or if they move Penei Sewell over the right tackle spot, but the interior looks pretty set right now.
For the Green Bay Packers, a lot more subtractions than additions for them. I mean, they released Elgton Jenkins. They traded away Rashawn Gary. They released Nate Hobbs. They traded away Colby Wooden. They extended Sean Ryan on the offensive line. They traded for Zaire Franklin, so you can factor that in if you want to. I was a little bit hesitant on the Javon Hargrave addition because he's not the run stuffer that I feel like they need most. But when we talked about this, I believe it was on yesterday's show, you did make some good points about the fact that, hey, they just got to get better on the interior defensive line in general. And at least Hargrave gives you that potential as a pass rusher there. So I suppose of the moves that they have made, Hargrave would be, I would categorize that as my favorite for them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They just need any pass rush depth that they can get, and he gives them that on the inside.
For the Houston Texans.
There's a lot going on here. Look at that.
Yeah. Braden Smith, Reed Blankenship, Logan Hall, Foster Moreau. I think all of those players are very much like Houston Texans type of players, especially the ones on the defensive side of things. I'll go Braden Smith.
Yeah.
I'll go Braden Smith to play right tackle for them. I think that they needed to switch things up in the offensive line. I didn't think that meant they were moving on from Titus Howard, but hey, Titus Howard's out. You bring in Braden Smith. I think that's a pretty good 1-in, 1-out for you, all things considered. So I'll go with Smith.
Absolutely agree. You got a starting right tackle at $10 million, and he's not the run blocker he used to be, and he's got to stay healthy, but that's a stable pass protector there, and that's all Houston needs right now up front.
For the Colts, re-signing Alec Pierce, suppose? I mean, the other outside signings, they brought in Michael Clemens, they brought in Arden Key, they're losing Kwity Paye. Traded away Zaire Franklin, traded away Michael Pittman Jr. My favorite, I guess, would be that Alec Pierce signing and just making sure you got a deal done with him.
Yeah, you almost feel like you kind of had to, or you would lose any vertical element to this offense. And in a year where they don't have a first-round pick and they don't have one next year either, keeping Pierce around, and obviously you lose Michael Pittman, but it seemed like he was getting kind of phased out anyway. I think I'd have to agree, but there's certainly not a lot to pick from there for Indianapolis.
Speaking of not a lot to pick from, Jacksonville has one outside signing, and it is Chris Rodriguez, who we talked about earlier in this show. So that, I think, has to be our favorite signing there for Jacksonville.
For those stats we compared earlier, man. Travis Etienne got 4 years and 52. Chris Rodriguez got 2 years and 10. It's gonna be a committee between him and Bashal Tootin. Maybe LaQuint Allen works his way in there as well. So this running back situation I think is gonna be fun to watch, especially with Rodriguez and Tootin. And James Gladstone going so far as to call Chris Rodriguez a superhero. That's how highly they think of him.
And also, did you see the rest of his press conference when he talked about we want comp picks? Like that's why we're being quiet. We want comp picks for the 2027 NFL draft, and if you do some future scouting, that draft looks like it could be pretty loaded. So good on James Gladstone for doing that. Kansas City Chiefs. I'll go with Karius Tonga, who I think is a really good football player. Was a great football player for New England. He was part of a deep and strong rotation for them on the interior. I think that's an area where Kansas City has needed to get a lot better, just a lot stronger. I think that with the guys who left last free agency for them, they really noticed that in their team. So I'll go with Tonga as maybe a more underrated signing, but I think one that's going to be impactful for them.
I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker right at the top. You add one of the most explosive backs in the league to one of the least explosive running back rooms in the league, and they've added Amari DiMercato from Arizona as well as depth behind Walker, but Walker's about to be a very much a face of this offense and add balance back into it.
All right, halfway through, so we'll get through the other halves of our favorite signings for every single team, but our game plan of the week presented by Western and Southern Financial Group, a game plan for your financial future. Our game plan of the week, to be honest with you, it's what I just said. One of the things that I love about what the Jacksonville Jaguars are doing is they're always very forward-thinking, at least over the last couple of years since James Gladstone has gotten there. I love the idea of saying, hey, we don't see any free agents out there that would have really been major difference makers for us. Let's get into the comp pick formula when it comes to next offseason. Just like every team win starts with a great game plan, your future should as well. With life insurance built like a championship roster, Western and Southern helps protect you and your family so you can focus on winning today, knowing that tomorrow is covered. Whether you're just starting out, building your dynasty, or looking to lock in long-term protection, their coverage options are designed to match your game plan. Visit westernsouthern.com/PFF to get your free life quote. Start building your financial game plan today. Western and Southern built to win, backed by over 130 years of helping people protect what matters most. All right, running through more of our favorite signings here for every team. Got a busy one here.
Should we count Max Crosby here? Should that also be added? Is that a thing?
No, because he was technically on the team the whole time.
That's true.
No contract extensions.
Like
nothing happened. Left. He's been a Raider the entire time. All right, what's your favorite here? Very, very busy week for the Las Vegas Raiders.
This might have a small bit of argument to it because of the contract and just the way it absolutely shattered the market. But when you look at Tyler Linderbaum's skill set, it could not be a better fit for Clint Kubiak's offense and the outside zone schemes, especially the run schemes and his athleticism. He fits the offense absolutely perfectly. They had the money to go ahead and just shatter the market and overpay for him, but he's a perfect fit, and I think he's the exact type of guy that, one, Fernando Mendoza is going to want to take snaps from, and number two, Ashton Jeanty, I think, should be a lot better this season with Linderbaum and what they're going to try to build with the rest of this offensive line.
I love pairing Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker together again like they were at Georgia. You know, I do. I think that they worked perfectly as a duo when they were with the Bulldogs, winning national championships there. Did they win two, or did they only win one together? Can't remember. But anyways,
I don't remember the timing on who was where when.
Right. They at least got some hardware for it. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
So I like the combination there. I like the combination of those two linebackers, and that is a area where it was a major weakness for them the previous season. Los Angeles Chargers. So, signed Tyler Biadasz, Charlie Kolar, Cole Strange, Keaton Mitchell, Alec Ingold, love fullbacks in there. Re-signed Khalil Mack. I think Charlie Kolar might be my favorite one because you need somebody at the tight end spot, especially for an offense like the one I know Jim Harbaugh wants to run, but it's mixed a little bit in with what Mike McDaniel, of course, is going to do as their offensive coordinator. But you need a tight end who can play on the line of scrimmage, and that's not going to be Arondé Gaston. Like, that's just not who he is. He's much more of a big slot receiver. Charlie Kolar could play on the line of scrimmage for you, so I'll go with Kolar here.
For sure. The Chargers, to me, I'll go in the offensive line. They had by far the worst offensive line in the league, according to our grading last year. And you have in the interior, at least, kind of that creep back to average a theory that we have. I think Tyler Biadasz is a really good sign at center. They need to do more work at guard because I don't think Cole Strange and Trevor Penning is enough. That's going to be a draft focus for me. But Tyler Biadasz really stabilizes things there for them at center. He's a reliable starter.
I'll keep it simple with the Rams. It's the Trent McDuffie trade. I know it costs a lot to go get him, but you are now Super Bowl favorites because you were willing to go make this trade. That's what it's all about. Hit the ground running as much as you can in week one, stack up wins, get back to where you were last season, and get over the top, especially noticing that Seattle was going to take a step back when it came to the overall talent on their roster. So the Trent McDuffie trade and that move is my favorite move from the Rams.
I'm cheating here, but I'm just taking all three of those moves. The secondary. It's just the whole
fair.
secondary.
It's fair. That's
keeping
totally fair.
Because honestly, again, the way I think about it at this point is that they traded for both McDuffie and Watson, and that trade at that point goes very much more in their favor. And then keeping Curl at a solid market price is really good. It's just we're cheating with the Rams. It's the whole thing.
Miami Dolphins. I'll say Josh Uche because I think that Josh Uche as a designated pass rusher is something they needed. They don't really have that on the roster right now with Jalen Phillips now gone. Bradley Chubb is gone. They have Chop Robinson, but they needed to get better from the pass rush perspective, and I think that Uche is somebody who could be a speed demon for you. So I'll go with the Josh Uche signing.
I'm going to agree. I mean, it's other than signing Malik Willis, it really is a reset type of offseason, which I don't know where this goes if Willis comes in and plays well and wins a handful of games, because at that point, then what do you do long term? Is Willis good enough? Do you still look at next year's draft? So kind of caught in between there, but definitely Uche is a good ad with as bad as their pass rush was last year.
For the Vikings, I think Kyler Murray is the obvious one, but I also really liked the other signing that they had in James Pierre. I think he's a really nice upgrade for them in the secondary. So I think both of those moves, obviously the Kyler Murray one, because he's probably going to be their starter, makes the most sense from an impact perspective. But their other deal, 2 years, $8.5 million for James Pierre, I think that is a very, very good deal for a corner that I think could start for them.
Man, 2 FAU players that we've gotten to mention here. Good stuff. Really good stuff, Trev. Love that.
For the New England Patriots, they've signed Romeo Doubs, Elijah Vera Tucker, Draymond Jones, Kevin Byard, Julian Hill, Reggie Gilman. Who stands out from that group?
Man, if he's healthy, I want to say Vera Tucker. But
it's Vera Tucker.
It's the biggest if in all of free agency. If he's healthy, you've got a top probably 15 guard in the league, and now you've got Jared Wilson back at center, and you're giving Will Campbell obviously another shot at left tackle. If he's healthy, it's Vera Tucker, but I also really like the value that they got on Kevin Byard reuniting there with Mike Vrabel after letting Jalen Hawkins go. Kevin Byard is really going to help them. He brings that leadership to the back end of your secondary.
Yeah, I think it's Vera Tucker as well. Vera Tucker would be the signing for me, although I do like the Romeo Doubs signing as well. He is a wide receiver that I think can be a chain mover for them, while I think they've got some maybe like higher ceiling wide receivers around the roster, or at least those vertical threat wide receivers there. New Orleans Saints, David Edwards, I think is my favorite signing for them, just because it makes their offensive line basically complete, right? And the guys that they have there in their starting five, so you feel pretty good about it going into next season. They also obviously signed Travis Etienne too, but building an offense around Tyler Shuck and trying to capitalize on a good year that he had last year, I think that you got to make sure the offensive line is what you want it to be, and I think the David Edwards signing definitely does that. So that was my favorite signing for him.
Agreed. As long as they can be healthy in the interior too there with Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz, I think that could be a good offensive line, especially if the two tackles make a jump.
For the Giants, they signed Isaiah Likely, Tremaine Edmonds, Greg Newsome, re-signed Jermaine Illuminor, which I actually think is probably my favorite move. It's just bringing back Illuminor and raising what would be the floor of that offensive line in theory going into the draft, giving you total flexibility to do whatever you want to do at number 5.
Yeah, I agree. I think stabilizing the offensive line as much as you can. They'll probably still work on some interior answers. So when it comes to maybe day 2 and early day 3 of the draft, I think there's a lot of risk with the Likely signing at that number. I think Tremaine Edmonds is solid. That's less than he was making in Chicago, so I don't think that's a terrible signing, especially with bringing Micah McFadden back. But I do think the Illuminor re-sign, especially at that price for a solid starting tackle, that's pretty good.
Your Jets were busy.
Very.
They franchise tagged Breece Hall. They traded for Minka Fitzpatrick, signed Demario Davis, traded for Geno Smith, signed Osai, Dylan Parham, David Onyemata, Kingsley Enagbare, Nashawn Wright, Dane Belton. You tell me, what was your favorite move here for the New York Jets?
This is tough. I actually think there's a lot of good here, to be honest with you, for as funny as it sounds. I think I'm going to go with the Minkah Fitzpatrick, the trade. I mean, it's just a late-round pick swap. It doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. And to get him at a solid market price that most of the other safeties were getting. Look, he's a versatile player who I think Aaron Glenn is going to ask a lot of, both back at free safety and in the nickel. To get him at $13 million, to get him on a 3-year contract. And again, I think the theme with the two names right next to each other there in Fitzpatrick and Demario Davis, they needed leadership in the middle of this defense. They got it with those two guys. I'm going to go with Minkah because I think he could really usher in the next era in that secondary.
I think it's Demario Davis for me, and simply because not just kind of who he is as a player, I still think that he's got a good amount left in the tank, but also just who he is as a leader, like who he was for the Saints and what this Jets team needs. I mean, he is in my opinion, like a future team captain. He's somebody who's going to lead the locker room, and that's really, really important for a Jets team that feels like it's just been in flux for the last couple of years. So I love the Demario Davis signing, the homecoming for him. You heard at the press conference talking about what it means to wear the colors, what it means to be a member of the Jets. And I just think that as much as his talent, his pride in his craft and how serious he is in being the best, I think is really important for that Jets team. Philadelphia Eagles, my favorite signing is Riq Woolen. CB3 was such an issue for them last season. You get a player who, okay, yeah, he's boom or bust in nature, but you're talking about Riq Woolen as your CB3 instead of, having to talk about him as a CB1. You feel pretty damn good about that. So getting Riq Woolen on that 1-year, $15 million deal, a relatively quiet week for Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles, but that was my favorite from him.
Yeah, I agree. I think Woolen is a good ad, and if Vic Fangio can't get the best out of him, then I don't know who can. I also think the Arnold Ebiketie signing is kind of low-key solid there. When you talk about just a deep rotation of edge rushers that they do have, including Brandon Graham, including Nolan Smith and Jalex Hunt. I know they lost Jalen Phillips, but they've got some really good depth there off the edge. I know they're looking for one more star player, see if maybe they think about that in the draft, but I think Ebiketie's a sneaky signing too.
For the Pittsburgh Steelers, they traded for and extended Michael Pittman Jr. They signed Jamel Dean, Rico Dowdle, re-signed Asante Samuel, signed safety Jaquan Brisker, re-signed Cole Holcomb, signed Darnell Savage, Cameron Johnston as well. Also extended Cam Hayward. Do you have a favorite move here for the Steelers? What do you like?
I'm actually going to go with Jamel Dean out there at corner to pair him with Joey Porter Jr. And I think with Patrick Graham coming in as the defensive coordinator, a lot of off coverage, a lot of cover 3 over the last couple of years. One of the heaviest cover 3 users in the NFL was Patrick Graham. If he brings that same mentality over, I think Dean is a really good fit with his ability to read in off coverage, in zone coverage, playing back 7-8 yards off the line of scrimmage. I think Dean and Porter could actually be one of the better cornerback duos in the league this year.
And I like the Michael Pittman Jr. move. It didn't cost a lot in draft pick compensation to go get him. Sure, you had to give him the extension, but him and DK Metcalf, I feel, is really nice, especially if you factor in Roman Wilson, who I think is going to be much more of a player for this team than he was last year with the new coaching staff here in Pittsburgh. So to me, wide receiver was such it was such an issue for them last season, and I just think that Michael Pittman Jr. on this team really changes how you look at that offense. So I think that was a really good move by them. San Francisco 49ers, they signed Mike Evans. Lord knows I'm not going to mention that as my favorite for them. They traded for Osa Odigizua. They signed Drake Greenlaw. Vidarian Lowe as well. Nate Hobbs, they signed him as well. So I actually think the Dre Greenlaw signing is my favorite. Bringing him back to play with Fred Warner where they were so good as a duo. That Dre Greenlaw signing, if Dre Greenlaw can stay healthy, I think they're going to get right back to business, those two.
What's interesting is Greenlaw's profile has kind of flipped. He used to be the elite coverage player, and then you got enough out of him in run defense. This year, 10th best run defense grade in the league, but a coverage grade just 64.4. But I kind of like the trio you have there with Fred Warner coming back healthy, Dre Greenlaw in there on early downs, and you still have D. Winters, who's a really good coverage player in his own right. So I think you're going to get a nice little rotation of Greenlaw and Winters there next to Warner, and that can work, between the three of them there. And if they want to play base, if Raheem Morris wants to do that and put all three of them out there, he can certainly do that too.
The Seahawks only outside signing that they've made so far is Emmanuel Wilson, the running back. So you could choose that one if you want, but I'll also let you choose bringing back Rashid Shaheed, bringing back Josh Jobe, extending Drake Thomas. To me, the move that I like the most from them is bringing back Josh Jobe. I think he's a solid player. I think he was the guy who I would have chosen between him and Riq Woolen. I would have chosen the same as the way that they went about this business as well. So Josh Jobe, to me, was my favorite move from them.
I think getting Drake Thomas, a guy who played almost 900 snaps for him last last year and was a top 25 graded linebacker for 2 years and $8 million. I have no issue with that whatsoever. You look at him really plugging in to start at linebacker down the stretch and into the postseason next to Ernest Jones, and you got him for $4 million a year. I think that's a great extension.
Buccaneers, a lot more quiet of a free agency week than I know a lot of Bucs fans wanted them to have. Kenneth Gainwell is my favorite signing. They signed Alex Anzalone as well, A'Shawn Robinson, Al-Qadim Muhammad. They brought in Jake Browning to back up Baker Mayfield. But Kenneth Gainwell is my favorite because I just think that he's so solid at the third down back responsibilities. Clearly, Bucky Irving can be that early down back for you. And then Bucky, I think he'd be a good receiver too in certain third down situations. But Gainwell gets a ton of action in the passing game. I think he's a good pass protector as well. So to me, they really needed that. So that would be my favorite signing from them.
I actually like Al-Qadim Muhammad here. It doesn't solve all of the Bucs pass rush problems, but he was top 30 in a lot of pass rush metrics this past year, playing in Detroit, over 50 pressures on the year. I believe it was 53 pressures that he had. So I think to at least add him in as maybe a designated pass rusher type of role for him, I think that's a really good value there too.
Tennessee Titans, they were busy as well. The club was open, but only to those.
We've made it
who
to
knew
the club.
Bouncer. They signed Wan'Dale Robinson, John Franklin Meyer, Cordell Flott, Alante Taylor, Josh Williams, Daniel Bellinger, Jacob Barton, Austin Schlottman, Jordan Ellis, Tony Adams, Mitchell Trubisky, Tommy Townsend, traded for Solomon Thomas. What was your favorite move here that the Titans made?
There's a lot to pick from, for sure. Probably Cordell Flott. Even at $15 million a year, he got off to a really good start last year, and then as everything kind of fell apart on the Giants' defense, he kind of went with it. But I think when you look at him being able to play in this off coverage zone heavy system that Robert Saleh runs, I think Flott's got a lot of potential, and I believe he's still only 24 or 25 years old. So you're getting a young player that has some potential that I think on tape has shown that he can do the things that Robert Saleh will ask him to do, I should say, and Saleh will be calling the plays himself as well. I'll take Flott as the young corner, possibly a solution out there in the secondary for him.
I think all three of these corners I like. Yeah, Alante is interesting with him being a little bit more aggressive as a press man type of a corner when he was in New Orleans, but I think that all three of these guys really help out a secondary that was terrible last season. So I like all three signings that they had there at corner. For the Washington Commanders, they extended Laramie Tunsil. They signed Odafe Owe, Chikakonkwo, Leo Chanel, Tim Settle and Meek Robertson, signed Nick Cross as well, Caleb Chason, Charles Omenihu, signed Rashad White, and then had a couple of re-signings in Marcus Mariota, Traylon Burks, and then Jake Moody. My favorite one's Leo Chanel.
Yep.
I think the Rashad White one is really nice for them too, but Leo Chanel, getting him at the number that you got, I mean, the physicality between him and Frankie Louvu at the second level, that is one of my favorite signings of any team, so had to go with it here for Washington.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of my favorite signings in the entire league. You get Leo Chanel, who's been a top 6 graded linebacker over the past couple of years. He's been really, really good. You got him for significantly less than the Giants got Tremaine Edmonds. You got him for just over half of what Carolina got Devin Lloyd for. Chanel, if the improvement in coverage sticks, he's a guy who could really make you not miss Bobby Wagner quite as much because he's been great for him. But Chanel is still only, I believe, 26 years old, and there's a lot of potential there. He could get another contract after this one, depending on how he plays here in Washington. That's a great add in the middle of their defense.
There we go. Some of our favorite moves from every single team in the NFL this week. Appreciate everybody watching, not just this show, but all the coverage that we had this week for free agency, going live 5 days daily here from Monday to Friday. It was a lot of fun to hang out with you guys with some extra time here with an exciting free agency period. Obviously, we will have a handful of dominoes that will fall over the next couple of weeks that will get us towards the draft, but that's what we're doing now. We're turning the page. We're solidifying a lot of these team needs, and now we'll get to start talking about team-specific big boards, real targets that we could see at certain positions for a lot of these teams to go through the last exercise of the offseason of improving their team before we get into, OTAs, mini camps, training camp, and then, of course, the regular season is going to be here before we know it. For everybody behind the glass producing the show, for Dalton Wasserman, I'm Trevor Sikkema saying thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the PFF NFL show. We will see you guys next week.